Good morning and welcome to what is a very different thought for the day than what I had originally planned for this morning. I want to take you back a few weeks and I want to help you picture a scene. It was a Monday morning, so I was off work because Monday morning is my day off. But I had offered to help Ruth with some videos that she needed to make for her work. She is the E3 schools worker for Scripture Union in North Belfast and Newton Abbey. And she had been tasked to make a video to sort of introduce the areas of North Belfast and Newton Abbey and some of the work that she does there as the schools worker. And so we had great plans of heading somewhere that we could get a great view of both North Belfast and Newton Abbey. And if you're from Northern Ireland, more than likely you know where I'm talking about. It's Cave Hill. We had planned to go right to the top of Cave Hill and get that stunning view out over not only North Belfast and Newton Abbey, but the whole of Belfast and even further afield. So we thought, right, we'll get up there and we'll make that video. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I have a thought for the week coming up in a few weeks. And maybe I could film my thought for the week up there, and had planned out what I was going to say and how it was going to connect with looking down over the view. And then as we're driving, well, before we even get to driving out of Cumber, we open the blinds in the morning and there's the thickest fog you've ever seen. And we think, well, maybe it'll be okay by the time we get to Belfast. So we're driving towards Belfast. We're going to drop Jemima off at my mum's house, and as we're coming out of town up the Crumlin Road, it's not looking too bad. We can kind of see the Cave Hill kind of peeking through the fog. And we think, okay, it's obviously lifting. We'll be fine. It'll be great. So we drop Jemima off at mum's house. We kind of laugh about it as we're there, and then we start to drive to the car park at Cave Hill Country Park. It's still a bit foggy, but it's not too bad. So we think, right, we'll just set off. We'll start walking. And we get about halfway up, just before the steepest of the inclines, and we can see bits of North Belfast as we look around, and we kind of comfort ourselves and say, oh, we can see a bit more now. By the time we get to the top, the fog will be completely lifted. The sun was trying to burn through the clouds. It'll be fine. We'll get great shots. It'll be a wonderful video. All will be fine. And as we made our way up the steepest part of the incline, the fog got thicker and thicker and thicker. And so here we are at the top of Cave Hill, expecting magnificent views of the whole of Northern Ireland, almost, at least everything that's to the south of Belfast, and yet this is the view that we were met with. You can see nothing. It was absolutely thick with fog, and we could see nothing. It had been a bit of a strange weekend and couple of weeks for us as a family. We have friends who are going through difficult times, family members who were ill at that stage, and just people we knew going through all sorts of everything. And I suppose, again, in the back of my mind, I had these grand plans, like something out of a film or from an Instagram post of just standing at the top of Cave Hill and looking to where the people that we knew either lived or were in hospital, those sort of thing, and looking at the areas and praying for them. I thought, wouldn't this be great? And then it all came crashing down when it was thick with fog. But as I sat there, I thought, well, actually, no, the hospital's still there. The people who we were praying for over there, their house is still there. They are still there. They're still in the midst of the situation in which they're in. And we could see down as far as the Mourns, and in a normal day, but we couldn't see them that day. But yet the Mourns were still there. Just because we couldn't see the houses of the people that we were wanting to pray for, just because we couldn't see the Mourns, it didn't mean they weren't there. The fog was certainly in the way, but the things were still there. And so as I prayed that the Lord would lift the fog. We prayed selfishly for the video, but actually as we prayed for our friends and family, we prayed that the Lord would lift the fog in their lives. Whatever the thing was that was going in their lives, we prayed that the Lord would take it from them. And then I was struck by the thought that it's just like God. Sometimes in the fog of our lives, whenever tough times come, whenever we feel we're in the darkness, we can sometimes forget about God, or we can feel like we've been abandoned. But just like looking down from Cave Hill on that foggy day, I couldn't see any of Belfast. I couldn't see the Mourns, but they were still there. Scrabble Tower was still off in the distance. It didn't disappear. We just couldn't see it at that moment. And it's the same with God. In youth fellowship, we have a bit of a favourite song, Waymaker, and one of the lines in it is, even when I don't see it, I know that you're working, along those sorts of lines, and that's exactly true of the Lord. I want to read you a few verses from the Bible which tell us that is true of God. John chapter 5 verse 17 says this, "My Father is always working, and so am I." God doesn't take a day off. God doesn't even take a second off. God doesn't take whatever smaller than a second, a nanosecond, a millisecond, any of those things. He doesn't take any time off. He's always working. He never takes a break. And 2 Corinthians verse 5 says this, or 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7 says, "For we live by faith and not by sight." If we depended on being able to see everything that God was doing, we would believe nothing, because God works in so many ways that so often a lot of his work goes unseen. He is the invisible God, but he does amazing invisible things. And so there's a challenge in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. That is what faith is. And so as I think back to standing in the midst of that fog, I knew Belfast was still there. And yet times in my faith, when I have felt I can't see God working, I sometimes doubt him. And yet he is there each and every day. He never takes a minute off. And so my encouragement to you today is to live by faith and not by sight. To fix your eyes on what is seen, not on what is seen, but on what is not seen. Focus on the Lord your God and trust in him this morning.